design before we can actually get into designing a site or learning any of the programs. We want to make sure we understand who the audience is going to be for our website, because that should inform all of the decisions that we make as we are designing and executing the web design. So we want to create audience profiles. Now, an audience profile is something that is done in many fields. Advertising, we create audience profiles before we begin earnest work on the campaign, so we understand who it is that we're trying to reach through the ads. PR will use this as well. At Lee, you might use this if you're in a social media class that you have to create audience profiles, and we're going to be doing that in web design as well. Now, as an assignment, I am going to have you create one profile, but it would be traditional to have three, so I would encourage you to create two more in addition to this. All right, so we wanted to figure out who are we communicating with. And we also want a way that we can remember very easily who we're trying to target with our website. In a month from now, it's going to be pretty hard if you try to think back to this day and all you have is a very generic concept. Like I'm trying to appeal to senior citizens who are somewhere between 55 and 75 and want to learn to cook healthy recipes. So you might have that as kind of your target consumer. However, with just such a vague description, we're going to kind of forget that, and it's really difficult to remember it. Instead, if we create a persona for this consumer, we're going to be able to remember it a lot better. And we'll talk more about that in a second. So a few things: a consumer profile should be specific, vivid, and describing what seems to be a real person. So specific. You're going to have to give this persona a name, a job, a set of hobbies. You're going to have to show us in one paragraph how they relate to the world and how they relate to the basic topic of your website. So let's take my basic audience I mentioned, senior citizen 55 to 75, and I have said that they need to eat healthier. Okay, so, and that's not too memorable. So I'm going to want to give this person a name. So I need to think about what would be a name that would be a good choice that will help me remember this person later. What is that person's job, hobbies, etc. And I'll come back to this when we talk about, we're going to make this into a real persona, and we'll actually talk about, and I'll give you the examples of how I'm creating the profile that I'm giving you as an example. All right, so it needs to be vivid. It can't be this very sterile demographic description of a set of age ranges and just a gender or just a type of profession. We are going to be very specific. We are going to describe this person as if they were, I don't know, our next door neighbor or somebody that we met at work. It's not going to be this vague, oh, my next door neighbor who is a 55 to 75-year-old senior citizen. We would never say that. We would actually describe them as a full person. So we are going to need to do that. So no age ranges. We have to give an actual age. And it needs to be more than just a laundry list. A laundry list would be where you just list some details out without adding any colorful wording ideas. So, if we just say that this 55 to 75-year-old profile likes hiking, walking, shopping, that's a laundry list. So we are going to want to say in full sentences, there's nothing he loves more on the weekend than to hike in the Cherokee National Forest or at Benton Falls. So I'm going to give details about this, or maybe I might say he's visited Benton Falls 802 times in the past 20 years, which shows you how much he enjoys hiking. Something like that. We're going to have full sentences. Okay, so let's get back to this describes a real person. So we're not going to tell their whole story, but we want to give a really interesting introduction to them in about 75 words. So again, name, And in this case, the name we're going to give my senior citizen is going to be Henry. I've decided to focus on male consumer, and so I'm going to call him Henry. And for his job, he is going to be retired. He's actually going to be 69 years old, so I'm giving him a specific age. He's 69 years old, he's retired. His hobbies is that, let's see, he likes to sleep, so he's a big napper. And he likes to eat sweets, even though his doctor isn't real fond of that. And so, how does Henry relate to the world in general? Basically, I'm going to tell you that I want to mention some part of his family, and in this case, he's going to have a granddaughter, and his granddaughter's concerned about his health, so she's going to introduce him to healthy eating blogs, which is what my website is going to be about. And so what's here is that my website, my healthy eating blog, is going to be designed in a way that it's easily accessible for a 69-year-old. I'm going to use larger fonts. I'm going to use colors that are easy to read. And I'm going to include photos of people who are over the age of 50. So I'm going to do all these things because I want to try to appeal to Henry. Okay, so I'm going to now have to put this into a paragraph, and I'm going to flip over to the next slide, and the first example is a poor example. It's a consumer profile, but it could be much better. And then on the right hand side, you'll see a good example. Okay, so the poor example. Older adult age 55 to 75 who likes sleeping and watching TV. They don't understand technology. They like to eat desserts even though their doctor tells them not to. Okay, we get a little bit of an idea here, but still, in a month from now, am I going to remember and say, oh, is my older adult age 55 to 75 going to be able to read my site easily? Instead, we give the name and a very interesting description, and this persona kind of comes to life and it becomes a character, personality for us. So, good. Henry is a 69-year-old grandfather who adores his retirement life. Naps every day? Yes, please. Dessert for breakfast? You betcha. His granddaughter, Weatherly Rose, recently introduced him to a healthy eating blog because she's concerned about his health, but he's having a hard time navigating it and reading it easily. What he needs are some easy to find healthy recipes so that he'll enjoy retirement for even longer. So a month from now, I can easily think back and go, would this appeal to Henry? Will Henry be able to read this recipe? Will Henry be able to easily find the links that I have here? Am I going to confuse Henry? And so this is what your job is for this assignment. Your turn. Just do this in PowerPoint, and I want you to describe your ideal consumer for the website that you're going to be building. So you're going to create all those details, you're going to name the person, and you're going to find a photo to put with them, and you're going to write it in an interesting, descriptive sort of way. I ask you to save that PowerPoint using the name convention that was mentioned in your syllabus. So you do your last name and then what the assignment is. If you have questions, let me know. Otherwise, I can't wait to see who your consumers are going to be.